What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and this is Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 5, Episodes 3 and 4, A Life Spent and a Life Earned. So yeah, these two titles do sort of go hand in hand, and once again, the story for this season is just very well flowing. You know, it just feels like every single episode is continuing the story. We're picking up where we left off with certain elements, and it doesn't ever feel like it's a disconnected story. It feels very fluid. So over these two episodes, obviously, there are a few different stories going on and a lot of different moving parts. So I'm going to try to tackle it piece by piece over the two episodes instead of trying to go, okay, this all happened in this one episode and this all happened in the other episode. So first we're going to talk about Gemma's story over the two episodes. In the first one, she's mainly dealing with this girl. Casillas has brought her in to sort of try to help this girl figure out her powers because she's inhuman. And it's from the request of his right-hand woman, Sonara. I'm not really sure what's going on between these two, because it kind of feels like there might be a little bit of romance there, but maybe that's just what I'm sensing, and that's not actually what they're trying to portray. It could be just one of the Kree things where they're really close, but they're not really romantically involved, or maybe they're even brother and sister. We don't know it. But yeah, so I'm not really sure what's going on there, but Sonara's the one that suggests that Gemma be brought in to help this girl. I'm not really sure what she's trying to go for here. He does say at one point, it's because you saw that I see she's beautiful and you want me to be happy or something like that. I don't know. Like, does she want Casillas to maybe take Gemma and try to, seduce her or something? Like, I'm not really sure what the plan is here or what they're going for. But yeah, so he does see something in Gemma that's pretty special. So he has her come in and help this girl. And then we come to find out that apparently he's planning on selling this girl to a woman named Basha, who owns another ship. She comes over, and I guess she's living on another planet now. Because whenever she comes in, she's talking about, oh, you seem to have made quite a life for yourself on this desolate little rock here. And, very condescending to him, and you can tell he's very jealous of her. So, yeah, we see that she has her own not a champion. He's apparently killed, people from several different regions of space, but somehow is still not a champion. I'm not really sure what that means. I guess they're just trying to say, oh, he's done all of this stuff, but he's still not my champion. So I guess I'm not sure. But ultimately, he's super big, super strong, and so this little girl has to fight him to show her powers and show why she's worth something. And so, of course, he's tossing her around the room. She's struggling. Gemma did help her a little bit, but not really enough time to get her to 100% be able to control them at will. And so finally there's this one moment where, Bosch is just disappointing and then tells him, pretty much finish her off. And she does look up at Gemma and kind of have that moment where Gemma kind of, oh, just think about the stars or whatever. And so she calms herself. He goes to punch her and then hits her stomach and his hand breaks because she's now lead-like. And then he walks forward. She's like, stop, puts her hand out, and her hand phases through his stomach, and all of a sudden you're just here, and then he falls backward away from her hand and is covered in blood now, and I'm just like, holy crap, she's got to be scarred for life after that. I mean, man. But I do want to touch on a few things here that didn't really grasp me. First of all, it's the fact that this is pretty predictable. Oh, things aren't going right. Oh no, the little girl's in danger. Oh no, what's going to happen? Is she going to be able to get out of it? Right in the nick of time, she manages to get a hold of her powers. I've seen this several times before. It's nothing original. It's pretty standard for something like this. On top of that, I do have a bit of a problem with how they handled the girl afterwards. Because we go back to the ship and we see they're doing the transaction. Casillas is getting whatever Basha has offered him. And then she just takes the girl, and the girl looks completely fine. I would have preferred to see her, I guess, a little bit traumatized because, she just phased her hand through his stomach, and then whenever she brought it back, or however she does that, yeah, she killed him. She just killed a guy by sticking her hand through his stomach. That's pretty traumatizing for a little girl of, I think she was 18. That's something. She didn't seem like she was willing to kill or willing to really fight for that matter. And then all of a sudden, she's just completely fine. She's not really happy, but she's not really looking scared or anything. I don't know. I would have expected to see a little bit more of a reaction out of her, but she's just kind of standing over there oh, nothing's wrong. We're all good here. Oh, I'm getting sold? Okay, well, See ya, family. She's like, what? So yeah, I don't know. That part did kind of bother me, just because it was a little bit predictable, and then just how it all ended. She seemed completely fine, even though it probably should have affected her a little bit more. But whatever. I will say that her powers also were a little bit strange. We didn't ever see if she could phase through her entire body, but I would say if it's just her hands, that's a pretty specific power. Like, oh yeah, you can only face your hands through things. Why just my hands? So I don't know. Just it was just interesting little story, but it kind of ended, in my opinion, a little bit disappointing. Maybe she'll come back later, maybe not. But ultimately, what Gemma's story leads to in the second episode is after Daisy gets captured by Casillas, they're trying to figure out what's going on. Do they know each other? They find out that they do, and then they have to sort of tell like a little story. But I'll talk about that later because that involves Daisy's story a little bit more than Gemma's. But ultimately, she does manage to make out of the situation okay. So she's still fine. She's still working for Casillas as one of his little human helpers. But I think she's slowly starting to learn her place a little bit more and kind of what her limitations are in this role. Then we'll talk about Mac and Yo-Yo a little bit, because their story is pretty much tied with Coulson and May's story in that they're trying to find out this transmission that, what's his name, the guy that died in the first episode, Virgil, I remembered his name. They're trying to figure out what he was doing. They're talking to Tess a lot, trying to get her help to get down toward where he was going. Coulson deciphers one of the notes. And so they were helping them a lot, but there is an interesting little story with them in the second episode where Mac is told to go collect payment from a guy who owes whatever his name is. So some of these characters, like, I don't know, their names are kind of memorable, but there's so many new characters being introduced this season, like I'm struggling to remember all of the names now. But it's the guy that they went to get the things in the wrists implanted. They're working for him. They convince him that his right-hand man is actually been betraying him this whole time. Yo-Yo plants a gun on him to get him thrown to the face of the earth where he dies. And so he now doesn't have anybody to sort of collect payments for him. Well, he gets Mac to go do it because Mac's a big guy. Yo-Yo decides to go help him as well. Well, they go to collect a payment from this guy and find out that apparently the thing that he's being hidden, or he's having the guy hide for him. I'm not really sure how this is working. But it's a baby. It's actually like a baby that was born instead of created, like Casillas has been wanting. So, yeah, that's what this guy that Coulson, Mac, and Yo-Yo are working for, that's what he's been hiding for him, and so he's been paying him off to keep the baby hidden. And so Mac, of course, is like, threatening, oh, we're going to destroy your stuff, we're going to put it in the crusher, not realizing it's a baby. And so the guy kind of flips out on him, it's just like, how dare you threaten a baby, you're going to be a terrible father, and all this stuff. And, of course, this brings Hope back. And Mac is just obviously pretty frustrated because he's remembering his dead daughter again and the fact that he left a fake version of her in the framework behind. And so then he gets pissed off and punches him in the face. And Yo-Yo has to sort of calm him down. So there is like a nice little scene between him and Yo-Yo, but I'm not really sure where this is leading, though. And this is where, I don't know, it kind of feels like they're bringing up old storylines a little bit. It could go somewhere interesting. I'm holding off my, judgment on this moment. I'm not really sure where it's going to go yet, so I can't really judge based on, okay, are they going to have him go through a crisis again where he wants to be a father and, kind of wants that framework daughter back again, or is this going to lead to him sort of, I don't know, becoming stronger as a person or realizing he wants to start a family with Yo-Yo? Like, where's this going to lead? I'm not really sure. So I guess based on where they go with this will determine, I guess, how I feel about the scene. But yeah, it was a nice moment between him and Yo-Yo, because they are a pretty good couple together and they do work very well. So yeah, I did enjoy it. I just hope they're not sort of repeating an old storyline. As far as Phil and Melinda, those two. As far as Coulson and May go, we see them. Like I said, they're trying to figure out Virgil's message. They managed to find the whatchamacallit, the message, the radio message that's being displayed out. And so, of course, that's a lot of what takes up these two episodes for them, is them trying to find out what this message is. And the first one, like I said, they're working with Tess to try to get down there to get the message. After that, though, they manage to find Deke and have him help try to figure out what the message means because he has a lot of information for them. So yeah, over the two, not much happens with them as far as character development. I was wondering if they were maybe going to have a little bit of a, I guess, Philinda moment because I know a lot of people have been pushing that. I'm glad that they're not really going all out on it. It's the subtle things here and there. Whenever they're on the ship, Coulson puts his hand on her shoulder because she's just like, I don't know what to do anymore or something like that. And it's just these nice little sweet moments, but they're not like in our faces like, holy crap, guys, we're shipping this. We want this to happen, like some other shows. Arrow. You don't have to be full force in your face about the romance. It can be the subtle things. And I think that's something that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. has always done pretty well, is have these nice little subtle moments that it's just like, building these characters together, having these little looks, these little touches, and then eventually, if they do end up together, that's when it's like, okay, now they're a couple. And I think, Yo-Yo and Mac, I think that's something they did pretty well, was sort of build them up slowly, and now they are a couple, and now they are together, and it works in my opinion to have a slow build up to it. I mean, it's been 4 or 5 seasons in the making now, so yeah, I really do enjoy this, what they're doing with them right now, kind of keeping it subtle, but showing these little moments that are sweet. But on top of that, we see that they managed to find out that Deke was sort of the one responsible for Daisy getting captured, and they find out that she is captured in the first place. And so whenever that happens, they of course don't trust him anymore. And so they fight off a couple of the Kree, but then Serana, I knew her name a few seconds ago, and now I've forgotten it. The Kree with the little metal balls, Cassius's right hand woman, she shows up, and May of course is like, I got this. And so Coulson takes Deke away while they fight, and it's a pretty short battle because May's not really at her full 100% right now. And so she gets beaten pretty easily, and then we don't really see what happens with her, so I'm assuming that she's probably captured right now, and they're questioning her later, because they're slowly sort of figuring out, okay, all these people are coming from the past. They're slowly figuring out the team is there, even though, I'll talk about that in a second, how they managed to get out of it for now. But I do think Cassius realizes that something else is going on here, that he's being tricked, so... But Coulson manages to find out that apparently the voice that they heard was actually Deke's father, which I do find very interesting, but he also knows that he can't really trust him at the moment. So he locks him away, and they manage to get the money from something that Deke got for giving Daisy to Cassius. They manage to give that to the guy who has the baby, and so now he can pay off his debt. So, it kind of wraps up pretty nicely for them. But for the moment, they're kind of trying to find a plan of attack because they no longer have May. Daisy's been captured. Gemma is working for Cassius. And so now they're like the numbers are slowly dwindling on who is actually free. The rest of them are captured or working. So I'll be interested to see what's going to happen next with them. Mac, it looks like he's probably going to be the muscle now for this guy that they're working for because he did such a good job with this last one. But yeah, I'm pretty curious to see what's going to happen next with their story and what's going to happen next as far as May as well, because I want to know what happened to her. Did she get captured? Did they lock her away somewhere? Is she going to be forced to fight or something? I don't know. But anyway, now we move on to Daisy's story, because this one definitely sort of is a bit more isolated. Obviously, after she learned about this whole, like, oh, you're the one that destroyed the Earth, it kind of became a little discussion between her and Deke where he's telling her it is possible, and she's like, no, it's not. I didn't do this. I'm not powerful enough. And Deke's saying, well, maybe you're not in your universe, but there's the multiverse theory and all that stuff. And so this kind of did get me thinking, did this actually transport them through time, or did it transport them to another universe? And this will come up later because they're the final plot twist of the second episode. Obviously, I'm going to bring this back up, so keep that in mind. But we'd see Daisy, she's trying to sneak to where Gemma is and help her out. But ultimately, she has to fight off some Kree. But then when she finally gets to where she's trying to go, all of a sudden gas spurts out, and she passes out. And then she sees Deke has apparently been selling her out to Cassius because I don't know why. I guess Deke is scared of her and what she's gonna do. He does tell Coulson, I'm trying to save all the people because, if Casillas had found out, he would have killed so many more. I don't know. I don't really buy that. I think Deke is kind of a weasel in that he's trying to do a lot of stuff for himself and keep himself living. And so I think this was just another way to sort of help keep himself in line with Casillas and like, hey, look at me, look at what I did for you, to keep himself sort of in favor with Casillas. So I do think he did sort of do this for his own profit, his own gain. Even if he is saying, oh, I did it to keep the people alive, I do agree with Coulson in that it's probably more about what's on his mind as far as making a gain. Now, do I believe him about his father? Maybe. It's possible because his father did get sent down to the earth according to him. But I'll be interested to see if he's just sort of a con man and a liar, or if he actually, if it is sort of like he's just doing it for self-preservation type of thing. So I don't really know how to feel about him yet. But we do see Daisy is sort of being like questioned by Casillas about, did you come alone with Gemma or did you come with a team? And so this was a pretty cool scene where they bring in this guy that Daisy met who's apparently able to read minds. And so we see he's a bit of a fighter. And he can read minds, so he can actually judge where they're about to fight. So if you ever get, I'm a bit concerned if they ever do get into a fight, because I feel like he's probably either just gonna take a fall or he's gonna be too powerful to beat. So I don't know. I don't really know what to expect with him. But ultimately, he gets brought in to sort of read Daisy and Gemma's mind and be like, okay, are they telling the truth about what they're doing? So Daisy tells Casillas a false story about how they were the only two to get brought in there, but the guy lies for her and says she's telling the truth. But Gemma, who had her earpiece turned on during that whole conversation, I knew exactly where this is going. I knew Casillas was going to turn to her and say, hey, okay, so now you tell the story and better be exactly the same. But then she starts telling the exact same story as Daisy. I'm like, wait, did they rehearse this? How exactly does this work? Like, did they just have some sort of story in place and they both, or did Gemma maybe figure out what she was supposed to say? Well, we come to find out that apparently the guy, I can't remember his name right now, but the mind reader, not only can read minds, but can also project thoughts into other people. And so when he read Cassius's mind and found out his plan to sort of destroy the space station because he wasn't happy here, he decided to help Daisy by projecting what she said into Gemma's mind. And I'm just like, that's a very clever way to get out of it. And I honestly, I was wondering if something like that had happened, because the way Gemma said it was kind of like monotone, like she was reciting something she read. But I'm just like, is that possible? And then sure enough, we find out it is. So I thought it was a clever little way to sort of get them out of that situation for the moment. But ultimately, Daisy is brought into Casillas' room because all these people are there. Casillas has, I don't know, he has another moment before this where he's talking to Basha and saying, oh, I'm sorry, she's not for sale to you. There are a bunch of other bidders, so, yeah, you're going to have to leave. Or I can't remember exactly why he tells her to leave. It's something about being on her own ship or something. I don't know. But ultimately, he brings her in and talks to all these people and just like, oh, we have the world killer here, Quake, and she's for sale for the highest bidder and all this stuff. And all of a sudden, you just see this one person step into the room and he's just like, no, she shouldn't be for sale. It's a world killer. And then takes off the mask and it fits. And I'm just like, what? And it's just like, she should have to fight to the death. And I'm just like, what is going on? What is going... And so this is where I want to jump back to the multiverse theory, because if there is a possibility that this is a parallel dimension or parallel universe, this actually could be a world where the Fitz that we see here isn't the Fitz that we know. Again. And I don't know, I would be a little bit disappointed with that, just because I kind of feel like if this is a different Fitz, well, we're kind of repeating what we did last season where we saw the Hydra Fitz, the one that was in charge of Hydra. It would just feel kind of similar in that, oh, we're seeing a different Fitz again. I haven't seen that before. So I don't know. I would be a little bit disappointed if that's the way they went. If it does turn out to maybe be like, oh, this is actually Fitz from a few years down the line. He just looks the same age for some reason. I'm not sure. I'm curious to see what this means. Did he somehow manage to come through the portal too? Did he maybe somehow cryo freeze himself so that way he could pass through time because he realized that's what was going on, and now he's popped up years later and is trying to help them or something. I don't know. I honestly don't know why he's telling them she needs to fight to the death in the first place, because that doesn't seem like a good idea. But yeah, I mean, nice little plot twist thrown in there. Unfortunately, I did see it coming because obviously I've waited so long. I've been on Twitter a lot, and I did see a lot of stuff about Welcome Back Fitz, so I knew he was going to pop up again. But to see him pop up in this fashion is kind of like, okay, what's going to happen next? You know, what is this? Our Fitz? Is this a different Fitz? What's going to happen? I'm excited. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to the rest of the season and what it's going to bring. I don't know. It's getting pretty exciting. So let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below, or your thoughts on this episode. Let me know. We can talk about it and discuss all the good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe. Future Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. reviews. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.